Many of you, we were informed of a later departure, so the pilots were at the hotel. They got a phone call that it was delayed till 10:15. So as soon as I get here, complete their checks, we should be on our way. Thanks for your patience.
We'll get to all that later. After a weekend getaway in Las Vegas full of sightseeing and entertainment, it is time to head home to Orlando. However, I first have to make a stop at Dallas-Fort Worth International Airport. It is currently 9 in the morning, however I should have been in the air an hour ago. You see, my flight was originally scheduled to take off from Las Vegas at 8 a.m. However, the inbound flight had seemed to have gotten delayed. The good news is that by the time that I woke up this morning in the hotel, American already let me know that the flight was delayed, so I got to spend another hour resting in the room. American also rebooked me on another flight from Dallas to Orlando since I wouldn't make it in time for the original connection, which was nice on their part. Regardless, this 4-year-old Boeing 737-800, which was delivered to American in June of 2017, will be my ride for the 2-hour and 45-minute trip to Texas. After waiting for what felt like ages for a turkey sandwich, I finally rushed over to my gate just in time for boarding. I've personally flown on a handful of American 738s with their Oasis interior, and to me, it's not the worst, but it's also not the best. American's Oasis project has had a ton of backlash due to the fact that it has added more seats, which has led to it feeling crammed and uncomfortable, which I can agree with. Now inside the plane, the interior seems clean, and I always seem to have trouble moving my carry-on bag through the narrow aisle while recording. Multitasking at its finest. My seat for today is 22A, and the lack of an in-flight entertainment screen does not give it that luxury feel that I get sometimes from other airlines such as JetBlue or Delta, or at least that is how I personally view it. A small issue that I have with American 737s is the position at which the windows are placed. It seems as though the top of the headrest is also the top of the window, and this results in taller people having to duck down to look out the window, which can be a pain. Even with the Oasis interior, legroom has never seemed to be a huge issue with me, but in terms of width, it was rather uncomfortable at times since my bag was taking up most of the space where my feet go. Each seat also has your own universal power outlet and USB outlet, which is a nice feature. You've also got everyone's favorite feature that you can find almost anywhere: safety card and your waist bag. While entering the aircraft, I was handed a Ziploc bag with a small water bottle, mini pretzels, and sanitizing wipes. It's not my preferred method to receive these snacks, if you want to call it that, but I guess it'll have to do during these times. As for the seat itself, you have a thin armrest with a decent recline, headrest that moves up and down, and an American Way magazine which does not sufficiently replace an in-flight entertainment screen to me. Right before we boarded, we were informed that our pilots were not at the airport yet, and that even though this was the case, we will still be boarding and then have to wait inside until they get here, which is something that I've never experienced and seemed a bit odd, but there's not much that you can really do.
Many of you, we were informed of a later departure, so the pilots were at the hotel. They got a phone call that it was delayed till 10:15. So as soon as I get here, complete their checks, we should be on our way. Thanks for your patience.
Finally, after a somewhat dreadful 45 minutes of waiting inside, our flights have gone here, and at 10 a.m., 2 hours after we should have taken off, we are on our way to the runway.
Lift or lower your face covering while eating or drinking. In an effort to avoid disturbing you, if you choose to sleep, we ask that you keep your face covering on. If you are unwilling or unable to follow the safety requirements, you may not be allowed to fly with us in the future. We're coming to y'all for our final safety and safe service checks.
reach our cruising altitude, it's time to check out the Wi-Fi and entertainment on board. American does offer Wi-Fi, however it comes at a cost, and there are quite a few options to choose from, which can come in handy if you tend to fly American a lot. There are plenty of free movies and TV shows to choose from that can keep you entertained for plenty of hours. However, for people like me who use their laptop as their preferred method of entertainment when there is no screen, it can create a bit of a strain after a few hours of looking downwards at your laptop. There is also live TV, weather updates, and a chance for you to book another flight on their website if need be. The bathroom is pretty standard. Since the 737 is just 4 years old, the bathroom has nice lights and looks clean overall, as well as some cool lighting when the door is unlocked. Now, having begun our descent into the Dallas-Fort Worth area, I definitely am curious about the future of American Airlines. From what I heard from family members, they used to be one of the, if not the, best airline in the United States decades ago. But efforts to save money, such as removing screens and adding more seats, seem to be taken away from what was arguably the best airline around. And as for me personally, I wouldn't fly American as my number one choice in the United States, but I certainly would still fly it. This is just me personally, and I'm curious to know what you guys think. Let me know in the comments, and as always, enjoy the landing. Now it's time to catch my connecting flight, an Airbus A321 from Dallas-Fort Worth back home to Orlando. Until then, welcome to DFW, and I'll see you guys soon.